Hello, hello. Welcome for another episode of Author Spotlight. Hey, it's your host with the most, your main man, Darren and Palmer. Excited to be with you for another episode where I get the honor and the privilege to go behind the scenes with best-selling authors from across the globe. Today we have the young, dapper young man by the name of Lorenzo Chambers. Say hello to the people, Lorenzo.
Good afternoon. How's everybody doing? Hope all is well.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Lorenzo, man, we're glad to have you on. If you don't mind, Lorenzo, just share with the people a little bit about who you are and name your book.
Sure. So the name of the book is Gypsy Woman, and so this is my second book that I've written. I'm also getting ready to work on another book, but I'm just I'm born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. I'm still living in Brooklyn. I've traveled around the world. I've lived in Italy, all across the United States. I'm an educator by trade. I'm the principal of an elementary school. I'm actually doing this from my office, which is great. We just did dismissal. I went to college in the Northeast. I went to high school in the Midwest. I was an athlete. I've traded stocks on Wall Street. I can speak a little Italian. So, I think I'm a little bit of a Renaissance man.
Right. Hey, man, we got nothing but love for the Renaissance, man. I think we're in the same fraternity, my brother. So I love to hear that. And when I look at that, why does this latest book, Lorenzo, if you could speak to the people, because you share this a myriad of ways that you can hit people for as your experiences, how you've been brought up, what you've been able to do in your career. So share with the people why the latest book.
Yeah. So Gypsy Woman, I've been working on it for about 3 years, and it was really a cathartic experience for me in terms of dealing with some trauma, and how do you own what you need to own and understand, especially for young children. And part of the way it came full circle for me is that as a principal of an elementary school in Brooklyn, New York, which could be any urban environment, right? We could be in Chicago, Miami, wherever, Houston, and seeing young Black boys without positive male role models in their lives. And it brought me back to some of my personal experiences. And then also, if we don't deal with this as young Black boys, it carries and goes through with us to manhood. And I've seen a lot of my friends in manhood who have not been able to deal with that trauma and have honest, open dialogue and conversations. And so in the forward of the book, I mentioned this idea of I tell this tale not to tell so much my own tale, but to tell the tale of all of us. And so the primary audience is Black boys and Black men. It's I would say 18 years and older, to generate these conversations. But I think the book is for everyone, right? So I think anyone who's interested in the Black male urban experience, I think women, I think white America, because at the end of the day, it is a unique American experience.
When we look at the American experience, I want those who are listening to this to be able to pick up or to glean from what Lorenzo is sharing with us of the importance. If you don't just do a book to do a book, actually focus on servicing someone.
Yes,
Be an asset to someone. It's
right.
not just for you to check the mark and say, yes, I did a book, I'm an author or whatnot. No, if you go from the place of abundance and go from a place of overflow to pour into someone else or to a particular group, now all of a sudden you heard Lorenzo share with us who the target demographic is for that book. He was able to have the metrics down. He knew the numbers and it just flowed because that's who he wrote it for. So if you're looking or you're thinking about moving forward and doing a book project yourself, keep in mind what Mr. Chambers has been able to share with us of the importance of knowing who he's writing to. That allows for, I believe in this, and this is a quote that I live by, wherever you have clarity of vision, you have acceleration to the known goal.
Mm,
And so that's the key. When you know who that target audience is, you're writing specifically for that particular group or that ideal person. You might even give a name to that one individual that you're writing to. So,
right.
so those are some of the things. Do you agree with that, Lorenzo?
I totally agree with that. So it's interesting when you were talking, it made me think of as writing this book and publishing it and sharing and people read it. inevitably almost everyone says, hey, you know, they've been inspired, like they want to write a book too. And so people want to know about the process. And I would say the first thing is to write about what you know about, right? And to write about something that moves you and you're passionate about, and doing it for an audience or in service connects to that passion. Because in order to really complete a book, you're going to need to persevere through adversity, right? And so there are going to be times when I talk about the science and the art of writing a book. The art is people write when they feel like writing, when it's comfortable. And that's why oftentimes writers get writer's block, because most of the time you need to be able to have the discipline of writing even when you don't feel like writing. So I definitely agree. Write about something that you're passionate about, something that you know about and that's familiar, so that you can get through the tough times. And also, I think I like what you said. The powerful piece was right from the perspective of wanting to pour into someone else. And so as an artist, hopefully people will glean from the book whatever resonates with them.
I like that. Whatever resonates with you. And so for those who are tuned in, once again, I don't want to pass this up, because this is why this is behind the scenes with best-selling authors, and we got Lorenzo on, is because we want a how-to, we want tangible steps that you can implement immediately that can change the trajectory of what you're doing as an author, but also in any area of your life, this can be applied. These are transferable skills that we're learning here and whatnot. You don't become a modern day Renaissance man if you don't know how to be able to have transferable skills or whatnot. So when I look at this, I think that is something that really need to be explored when you look at your current book or whatnot. The reason being, I have encountered some of these same situations where I had a woman reach out to a group that I was a part of with some men, and she shared, you know, we need more men to substitute at the local schools. And and I was somewhat out of touch, because when I actually went to school, there it was more of a male presence at schools at the time. And so, of course, you had women teachers or whatnot, but you had coaches, you had history teachers, science or whatnot. I mean, you had males everywhere for the most part that was a part. But when I went back and volunteered, I was really shocked, Lorenzo. And this is, and this is overall, I'm talking about the whole school,
Right.
of how no matter the ethnic background, of the need of male figures in the school, period.
Right.
So I definitely, I'm looking at Black or African Americans too as well. But I was even shocked. I was like, wow, it's hardly no men really at these schools. Like, I mean, and I'm not saying this is for every school or whatnot,
Right.
but
Right.
when we volunteered, I saw what you, but also with me going to schools and speaking or having consulting with clients who go into different schools, they were saying no matter if they were in North Carolina or if they were in Seattle, or if they were in LA, that was a need. So when you're talking about this book, this is something, if we don't deal with, it could be looked at as generational of this going on. So I want those who are listening to this too as well. It might be you just volunteering when this COVID stuff is over with, so you can see the experience, but they gravitate. It was like a thirst of some attention from a positive male figure. Now, if I wasn't positive, they were still susceptible to my thoughts
Right.
because of the need of a male there.
Yeah. So it's interesting because Gypsy Woman, I believe it transcends those boundaries that we're talking about, in terms of, though the target demographic is uh, Black boys and men in urban environments, it actually transcends those boundaries. Because if you are a young white boy growing up in West Virginia or wherever you are, or Latino growing up in LA, if you don't have a positive male role model in your life, then you become susceptible to making poor decisions, because then in steps a male role model who might be a negative role model. And so what happens when those gaps are left is that negative role models kind of fill in. And then what happens is sometimes we start to own these negative behaviors, but these behaviors, they should not define us. And so part of the book idea is being able to get past my experiences, or to use them for good and not for bad. I mean, I talk to children all the time, especially in elementary school. We talk to kids. I say, you have superpowers, and you have to decide: are you going to use the superpowers for good, or your superpowers for bad? But being the principal of elementary school, as you said, they gravitate, and they're just looking for something good. They just need a hug. They need someone to say, "I love you." They need someone to have conversations with them. And I think that they traditionally they get it from the women and the female role models. And I think we all need to kind of step up and do our part. So it's great that you were able to kind of step in the gap and volunteer. But I think it's about developing relationships as well. So for example, mentorship is super important. So if you're a writer, take on a young man or a young lady or someone who wants to be a writer and do some I forgot the apprenticeship. Like, we don't have enough apprenticeship these days. And talking to children about the idea of what do you want to be when you grow up, right? Those are the conversations that I think that we need to have.
With the apprenticeship, and it's amazing that you brought this up. I mean, I can't make this type of stuff up. I just had a call before we got on, and the key to it is that it allows for you to be held accountable as well. Because if you're pouring into someone, all you have to do is just be a chapter ahead. But if you're pouring into someone, the ironic thing is it's a dual approach, because it's helping you at the same time. So you can catch yourself like, oh, wait a minute. Now I know this to be right, but I've backslidden, so to speak. If I digressed a little bit myself on this area. So I need to tighten up in this area, especially when it's an issue of integrity. Because, like, I don't want to share. I know it to be true, but if I'm sharing this with you, I want to implement it too. So I can come from a place of actually walking out my leadership instead of just talking about it. So when Lorenzo is sharing it with us, I want those who are listening to this, take on that apprenticeship role. I mean, you'll be shocked of the value that you get. And, even with that, Lorenzo, even with me doing some volunteering at, a nursing home or whatnot a time before, I call myself going in to help the people. Here comes Darren to save the day. Let me help, some of the seniors out. And, I know they're not having people visit as much. I'm really just to pour into these seniors, saying, here I come. And then it was so humbling, because I walked out of there with a wealth of knowledge, gratitude. And I was just a student, just like I'm in class with you or whatnot, and you leading the class. I was a student. When I walked out, I was like, wow. I walked out more blessed from the situation. I call myself going to help, but I walked out better than I was. And so it fuels you when you operate with purpose, passion, and it also leads to profit, because you're profiting from the people you're helping. But the two go together. Wherever you are able to have impact, income is going to follow that. And I think so many people get caught up on the income part and miss out on the impact part, that they don't understand how the I squared goes. If you impact enough people, as Zig Ziglar would say, you help enough people get what they want in life, you get everything that you want in your life. I'm paraphrasing a little bit. So Lorenzo, with that being said, who inspires Lorenzo, man? I want to know who inspires you.
Wow, that's heavy. So I think, so I've had mentors in my career, former principals, former superintendents. And so Dr. Lester Young was a principal of mine who inspired me. His dad was a famous jazz, I want to say saxophonist. And they called him, I think they called him Doc. And then Frank Spradley was a principal who just pushed my thinking. People who push your thinking are the mentors who kind of you look up to. My best friend, Cliff, he's down in Georgia and I'm in New York, but we're best friends to this day. People who hold you accountable, who are not yes people. So when I'm doing the wrong thing, he's that cat who's going to say, hey man, that wasn't cool. My son is now, I'm a grandfather now. My son inspires me too. He always has, and that's another thing too, is being in a leadership role, having your son, look up to you. And now I feel like my son is a better father than I was. And I feel like I was a better father than my father. Also, the idea is, as adults, we need to be honest with young people in a sense of, as we try to hold ourselves accountable for their benefit, and as you said, it's a mutually beneficial relationship. So we need to be able to, when we stumble and fall, we have to show our humanity and the humanness to say, listen, I am not perfect. And so let's share these experiences where I have stumbled, right? I always say, please don't measure me by my stumbles, measure me by my strides. I'm gonna stumble, but the idea is what happens when you stumble and how do we get back up? And what are the skills in getting back up? And that's part of what the book is about too, is how do you get back up and you move on? So just, young people inspire me, older people inspire me. I look for inspiration all the way around.
Here we go again. Same type of conversations continue to move on. The parallels is just mind blowing. And finding a way to learn from those who are around you. It could be someone who you met at a shelter. It could be someone that you saw, at a stoplight who needed some change that you could pick up something from. So don't limit the opportunities to learn. As the great one once said, Les Brown, you got to be hungry. You got to be hungry and whatnot, and be ravenous and whatnot for his growth and learning. So I think that some of us, even our young people, I know we give them a hard time, or everybody can bash millennials and other things like that. But at the same time, I think we all can glean from each other if we take time to be open. So if
Yeah.
it's like you brought up earlier, if it's a different race, if it's someone on the socioeconomic ladder that's different, if we just take time to actually hear someone and not allow for our preconceived notions or ideas to get in the way of having a conversation, you'll be shocked what we can come out with a better understanding. Not saying that we're going to totally agree with someone, but just being open. And in this day and age is it's just peaceful to hear someone like you, Lorenzo, who's able to impart wisdom to us like a sage and let us know, like even with your own son, some people have ego, and I'm big on, I don't have ego at all, man. Die to ego, let that go. And some of you who listening, we're talking to you right now. How, you're bottlenecking your family, you bottlenecking your company, you bottlenecking your nonprofit because you have to be right all the time. And you don't want people to be smarter around you and not understanding that they are an asset and not a liability. It's okay. And showing, humanizing like the text if you're writing, or letting folks to understand that you're just human, and the humanity part of you if you have a fall. And like Lorenzo brought up to us as well about the strides. When you share with people the strides, this is the reason why I'm sharing this with you, because you can overcome like I overcome, or I overcame. And I think we all can pick up from that, Lorenzo. And when you share that, talk to us, for those of us who some business owners, or even if it's those who are writing right now, of being open for constructive criticism. Everyone is not hating on you. Actually, they could be assisting you in going to your next level. We all need a Mr. Miyagi. We all need a wax on and wax off moment.
Yes.
And we might not understand it at the time, but later on, it's going to be beneficial to our growth to help us reach our ultimate destiny. Could you speak to that?
Sure. I think you alluded to it. The idea for me start with the mindset, having an open mindset, having a growth mindset, understanding that I'm always looking to grow, having a sense of purpose for being, right? And so the universe will conspire on your behalf, meaning it brings people into your life, in your pathway, to assist and help you. But there means in the challenge and the pushback of having conversations, that's where the growth takes place. I have a phrase that says, everyone wants to build sandcastles, but no one wants to play in the mud, right? And so that's where the real work happens. And so I want people around me who are going to push my thinking. They're going to say, hey, what about this? What about that? Let's think differently. Because ultimately, if we have a goal and we all want to get, so it's the other, to your point, not being ego driven, it's not about me, it's about the work. So if I'm in the business of education, it's about what's in the best interest of children. And so as an adult, that may mean I'm going to be put in uncomfortable situations. So the other idea, when you have an open mindset and a growth mindset, you become comfortable in uncomfortable situations, and you're willing to make certain sacrifices because in the end, it's worth it. And so when you get people on the team who have different ideas, that's the bounce off, right? So this is the other idea, and I know I'm saying a lot of different cliches, but I believe in all of them. And so the last point I would make in having this growth mindset is iron sharpens iron, right? And so I want to be around, people who think differently, and let's push each other to be the best that we all can be collectively, and don't take it personally. That's where the get out of your own way type of thinking.
Just by us having Lorenzo on right now, it's nothing wrong with that. This is a brilliant man that I'm here to learn from. That doesn't make me weak as a man, that or a woman.
It makes you strong.
It's make you strong. And that's what we want. You have to debunk this myth of it make you weak because you're learning from someone. So, that's the whole point of life, is to continue to learn. And of course, you never done it before. You come into life never ever been born before that we know of, or you conscious of. So the key to it is just making sure that being comfortable, being uncomfortable. Right. And that's what you hear from the greats like Lorenzo Chambers and others, who they make it habitual. They make a habit of being uncomfortable, because we're being uncomfortable. That's the breakthrough for you going to the next level. And so if I'm afraid of being a part of a mastermind or learning from others because someone has more degrees than I have, or they have more years of experience than I have, or they're more well diverse, or they've traveled or know more languages than I do, instead of realizing like, no, I need to be in that type of circle. The old cliche, your network is your net worth. That's true. That's why you see individuals, and I just want to bring this point home to what Lorenzo is sharing with us. For those who might be students who are watching this, or those who, I'm gonna use a sports analogy or example. Do you ever wonder why the top athletes, even though they have multi-million dollars and even sometimes billion-dollar facilities and trainers, the best of the best around the world, why they will take time in the off season to actually go and hire someone and pay them out of their own pocket additional 6 figures and more to train them in the off season to get a different result before the actual season starts? Right. That really doesn't make sense, because you're thinking, why would they do that when they already have a state-of-the-art facility? They already have chiropractors and they already have physicians that's already on staff, because they want a different result. Those who play at another level, they're able to get paid at another level because their thinking is at another level. Because what Lorenzo shared with us, iron sharpens iron. So they know the areas that they need to grow in. They don't have an issue, and they're even willing to, and notice what I'm sharing. Notice this word, because this is a paradigm shift. They're willing to invest. They didn't pay for anything because they're getting a huge return. So that's why they're an all-star. That's why they're in the Pro Bowl. That's why they're getting endorsement deals, because their thinking is at another level. So they're playing at another level, and they're getting paid at another level. And so I want those out there who scared to death that if you have to invest some outside of looking on YouTube University, of the importance that you play at another level, because you have invested, and now you're going to perform and be more productive because you're learning from people who've already done it. So you're not making those mistakes. And now you're able to expedite the process and the learning curve for yourself to get to where you want to go, because you're around the right people. So now, like Lorenzo, we're connected now. We do events in different places all the way around and whatnot. We got an event called Authors Roundtable. So when I'm back in New York for Authors Roundtable, we have clients in Brooklyn, the whole nine. Now, because we are connected, because I didn't let pride get in the way, he didn't let pride get in the way. Iron is sharpening iron here while we're on this interview. Yes. Now, I'm going to ask and see if it works with his schedule, but I'm going to set something up with him to have him be a part of that. And then we'll tell, hey, why don't y'all come out? Because we want to learn from you. And hopefully we can share something that you can learn something that we've been able to learn as well. So I believe that's very important. And speaking of that, Lorenzo, I got to ask you this before we get out, because I think it's going to really help the audience. Would you, being the Renaissance man that you are, share with us how do you overcome overcome fear to go into different arenas.
Mm.
Because like you brought up earlier, you've done the stock market, you've done investments. Some would find fear in dealing with education. Why would I want to go into education at this time, or vice versa? But you have did an excellent job of living your life and not allowing what others thought or the unfamiliar to keep you from taking that next step, even into a different industry. So share with us that mindset, because you utilized that in doing a book too. Until you did the first book, you had never done a book before.
Right.
So what, give us a step of how you have the mental fortitude to jump into different arenas that most people would shy away from.
Yeah. Yeah, Darren, that's a heavy question. And I think it's a powerful question. I think um when you were asking the question, I was thinking about a lot of different things. So one, I was thinking, um, if you read Gypsy Woman, it's a raw text, right? It's if you got to get through the first couple of chapters because it's going to touch a nerve, but it's done intentionally to say, you know, if you've experienced heavy trauma as a young person, you have to make some decisions in terms of, do I want to stay in this space or do I want to move to a different space? So even when things get bad, I'm thinking they could be worse, but let me do what I can where I am with what I have. And so I've always had that mindset. And then believing in oneself. You talk about investing, everyone needs to invest in themselves first, because if you don't invest in yourself, then why would anyone else want to invest in you? And when you do that along the way, there are benchmarks along the way that give you signs that you're moving in the right direction. And so, you know, I saw this movie, I played football in high school and college, and you know, I had a tryout in the NFL. I played in Italy. So in football, we fear is the opposite of courage, right? And courage just means be willing to go where you are afraid to go, but you go anyway. And so having the courage, because also as in having an open mindset, it's also exciting, and it's the journey of it because it's the unknown. And so I think your mindset has to be, I want to go to these unknown places. I want to be excited and feel the adrenaline rush, right? And the endorphins kick in, and it's actually exciting. And if you do that enough, you'll start to feel that, yeah, I can do it, because you're starting to have some successes. The other thing too, I remember, like when I tried out for the Giants and I got cut and I came back to the neighborhood, and some cats were like, yeah, I knew you weren't going to make it, right? And I was like, wow, you know, that's a negative mindset. And some people were like, you know, I'm glad you tried. And so my mindset has been, I want to try and do it. And at least to say I tried it, even if I don't make it, because at the end of the day, trying is better than not trying. And then lastly, and it's corny as it might sound, but I think it's so true. The Star Wars movies, where Yoda, he has this saying, and I don't know the order, but I think it's something like, fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, and hate leads to suffering. And that is so true. And so people, when they're fearful, they get angry, right? And that's kind of like where the country is right now. And that's a whole different conversation. And then when people get angry, they hate. And then suffering happens all the way around. So I'd rather try. And also fear is the opposite of love as well, right? And so I think I've chosen love.
Wow. I'm telling you, as my man John Lee Dumas say, my guy Lorenzo is dropping value bombs on here for us today. I'm just over here, just as we say down south, I'm over here just marinating in it. You know, I
Yeah,
might do
let
a
it
cook show.
marinate.
I'm
Let it
letting it
marinate.
marinate a little bit. I'm letting it marinate on me right now. What
That's
my
good.
man said, but you know, it's just like Campbell soup. You know, it's just good. But he just shared with us there, and I want to just unpack a little of that, because we don't want to miss the importance of taking advantage of this opportunity with this gift. That's why they call it the present, with the life that we have. And it's a reason why you can see someone that's bitter. You know, and a lot of it is because they know that they should have tried. They had their giants moment, but they never did try. So now they're living with regret, whereas regret weighs a ton because of you never did actually try. So
Right.
it's the woulda, coulda, shoulda, or if was a fifth sort of type mentality that you deal with and actually weighs on you. So what Lorenzo sharing with us is that it also it's toxic. So it interferes in relationships. It's in your subconscious. You're repelling success in other areas in other arenas because you didn't take advantage of those moments of those opportunities. And so you can find someone that is they are dream crushers. A lot of time the reason they're dream crushers is because they didn't move forward with the opportunity to reach out and stretch to see if they could hit their targets or reach their goals. So they want to sabotage everyone else
Right.
because it's a reflection in the mirror of how they used to be back in the day when they had those, bright lights in their eyes when they were embarking on something that was unfamiliar, and they were just thinking about the possibilities of what could happen, but they never did take advantage of that. So for those out there who are listening to this, continue to move forward because it's a lesson learned. How many people are able to even say that they even got an opportunity to try out for the Giants?
Right.
See, I mean, that's like 1 in a million for you to have the opportunity. So you're still in the 1%, even if you got cut, because most
Exactly.
people don't even get the invite or even, wouldn't even know where to start to even get on the field. So, Lorenzo, I really appreciate you sharing that with us because I want those who are listening to this, where can you have your Giants moment? Where can you move forward? Instead of just saying that I can't write, I wasn't good at English, I don't know the first place to start. Move forward and share your story with the world.
Right.
Start that business or take that salsa class when the world opens back up. Go to a different restaurant sometimes. Nothing against KFC, but you might want to try something else. Go get some Indian food. Go find a way to do something different. Explore. Even if you can't travel there, get on Netflix, Hulu, or whatnot. Look at a traveling channel just to be interested in something so you can be familiar with it when you go. Step outside of the box and you can actually live life. And Lorenzo, I know that people want more of you. I want to be respectful of your time, but please share how can they get a copy of your books, some copies of your books? How can they connect with you, whether it's on social media, you're on Instagram or Twitter or whatnot, any social media handles? We will have this information in the show notes,
Okay.
by the way. So if you're commuting or if you're driving right now, you're working out, don't worry about it. You'll be able to check this information in the show notes. But for those who are listening, could you share some information how they can get in contact with you?
Sure. So the book is Gypsy Woman, and you can go to the website, gypsywomannovel.com, and you can get the book there. There's also some merchandise. We have some hats. We have some T-shirts. It's also available on Amazon. So either way is fine. I'm on Facebook, Lorenzo Alexander Chambers. Instagram is Lorenzo Alexander Chambers. So yeah, I think those are the ways through social media you can connect with me and get the book.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you, Mr. Chambers, for coming on. Definitely go out and get the book. I'm actually going to get me a copy as well. I definitely got to dive into it. This won't be the last. You heard it here first on Author Spotlight. This won't be the
I'm gonna
last
hold you
time
to it,
you
Darren.
see me and Lorenzo together, man. We got to get together. Actually, I'm going to have our director of program send you my personal phone number, man, because we got to connect.
Awesome.
I don't believe in things happening by accident. And this conversation, man, we got to connect on some of the other events and platforms that we have, so you can pour more into the people, Lorenzo, man. But thank you so much for being a guest on the Author Spotlight.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. For those who are tuned in, remember that this is the year for your new book. And if you won't change, be the change. Before I close it out, Lorenzo, last words with you. Is someone listening saying that I'm not a modern day Renaissance man? I don't even have a GED. It makes sense for Lorenzo. Brilliant, got companies. He's a principal. Darren, he's doing his thing as well. It makes sense for those guys. But I have a story that I want to share, but they don't know. They're straddling the fence of should they share their story with the world. Could you speak to that person about why they should share their story with the world?
Wow. So I have this saying that it's everybody has a verse to contribute to the poem of life, right? And your voice adds to the collective of humanity in terms of everyone being able to grow. And it's actually selfish not to have your voice to be heard. And so if someone has told you along the way, you know, you don't have anything valuable to say, don't listen to them, right? Just try it. You are here for a purpose. We all have a reason for being. And I just want to encourage you to find your purpose. And it starts with one step. And there's going to be stumbles along the way, but just go out and you're going to feel so good. And the adrenaline's going to pump. And when you connect with me through my social media, and you want to have these conversations, or you just need somebody to talk to about when you're stumbling to kind of get back up, I can be there for you as well. So know your purpose, add your voice, find your verse in the poem of life.
Wow, that's it. Until next time, if you want change, be the change. Be blessed and be great.